And for whomever is here and whomever is watching later, this is Dr. Please pronounce your first name.
It's Rudrani, but I go by Rani for short.
Okay, Dr. Rudrani Banik. I did introduce you in the post for the event. So I think without further ado, my first question is, why do we hear so much about eating leafy greens? The first thing, any nutrition advice given to our folks, it's usually first thing is eat your leafy greens. Why is that?
Yeah, great question. And I think it's almost like a knee-jerk reaction whenever someone talks about, or an eye specialist talks about macular degeneration in particular. That's the first thing that comes to mind is leafy greens. So What is it about leafy greens? Well, leafy greens have lots of nutrients, but they have some of the key nutrients that are important to protect the macula. And these nutrients are lutein, zeaxanthin, and mesozeaxanthin. So I can talk about each of them a little bit, but before I do that, I just want to review a little bit about the anatomy of the retina. So if you think about the retina, I always try to equate it to like a bullseye. So you have different zones, different circles. And of course, the very central circle is the fovea, which is the central part of the macula. And that's what gives us our crisp, clear, highest resolution vision. And that's what is affected by macular degeneration. But right in the center of the macula, in the fovea, we have these pigments, lutein, zeaxanthin, mesozeaxanthin. And what these pigments do, this is amazing how nature created this system where there's almost like an internal protection for the macula. These pigments, they are really large molecules, they're antioxidants, and our bodies can't produce them, but we have to either get them through our diet or through a supplement, but our bodies absorb the nutrients and then deposit them right there in the macula, in the fovea. And so what they do is, because they're large molecules, they can sustain a lot of oxidative stress. They basically neutralize oxidative stress. So like, for example, if there's light rays coming in, let's say high energy rays like UV rays or blue light rays that can be potentially damaging, these molecules are put there in the retina by nature to kind of neutralize, take that impact. And so retinal photoreceptors don't suffer damage. The RPE cells may not suffer damage, or other retinal cells may not suffer damage. So it's really incredible that we have this system in our eyes. And what I like to tell patients is that these pigments that come from leafy greens, they are like our internal sunglasses, like there are like our internal blue blockers. So, people always ask me, oh, should I be wearing blue blockers when I'm on a screen? And I say, well, number one, make sure you're getting those pigments. And if you're doing that in a good enough quantity, and we can talk about what a good enough quantity is, you should be protected. And so, so again, lutein, zeaxanthin, mesozeaxanthin, those are the three. And they're called the macular carotenoids. So if anyone has maybe heard that term before, macular carotenoid, that's what that means. They're also sometimes called xanthophyll carotenoids, and xantho means yellow. So they have like a yellow pigment to them. And actually, when we as eye doctors look into the back of the eye, the very central part of the retina, the very central part of the fovea is actually like a bright yellow color. It's like a little dot of yellow, and that's that pigment that we can actually see in the eye. And there's actually ways to measure that pigment also. Now, let me just explain a couple of other things. So if you think about, the bullseye, again, there are different zones even within the fovea, there are different zones. So there's the retina, which is the bigger kind of circle. And then there's the macula and then the fovea. But even within the fovea, there is the foveola, there's other parafovea. So there are so many different zones in the retina, and each of the pigments is deposited specifically in a particular zone. So it's really incredible how our eyes developed in this way. We have this natural protection. So, so right in the very, very center, again, where our 20/20 vision comes from is mesozeaxanthin, okay? Then the zone outside of that is zeaxanthin, and the zone outside of that is lutein. So if you think about it, really, we always hear about lutein, zeaxanthin. Really, it's mesozeaxanthin that's the most important. And so let's talk about, I don't know if you want to ask me any questions right now, Linda, or I should just keep talking. Either
Well,
way.
one of the things about mesozeaxanthin is, my understanding is that we don't find it in many foods. I think I heard trout skin and some other shellfish. Is that correct?
It's not readily found in foods. In some marine species like wild salmon, rainbow trout, some other marine species also, but it's not very common. And also, when you do get it from some of those marine species, it's not in a very high quantity. It's in a very, very low quantity. So how do we get this? I mean, if it's the most important nutrient for our eyes, for our retinas at least, how are we supposed to get this if it's not readily found in foods? Well, the good news is that the body converts lutein into mesozeaxanthin. So you don't necessarily have to take it separately. If you're having enough lutein, it would be automatically converted into this really important eye health nutrient that's hard to find in nature.
Are you familiar with the work of John Nolan in Ireland at the Waterford Nutrition Center, Ireland?
I'm actually not familiar. Yeah.
He came to speak with us, and I've investigated his research. He says that it appears that not everybody converts mesozeaxanthin from food. I can't remember. I want to say 15% of people do not, and you don't know ahead of time who that is. And so his recommendation is a supplement that has it in it.
So I am actually in the same boat, and there's actually a couple of different nutrients that not everyone can convert. So, we always think about beta carotene for our eyes and vitamin A, but similarly to that, not everyone can convert beta carotene into vitamin A readily. So you may have to kind of think about your food choices a little bit, but I'm a strong believer. So we can talk a little bit about amounts. How much of these nutrients do we need? So there is no US RDA established,
right?
First of all. So this is kind of extrapolated from what people think from, scientific studies, et cetera, looking at serum levels, looking at macular pigment optical density. So it's estimated that for lutein, we need at least 6.5 milligrams a day. And this is based off Joanna Seddon's work. She's done some amazing work in so many different studies in macular degeneration. So lutein, 6.5 milligrams a day. But some researchers believe that we actually need more than that, that we need up to 20 milligrams a day. And there are some people who are really on the edge who say we actually need probably like 40 milligrams a day, which I think may be a little bit too much. The good news is you can't really go, become toxic with any of these. They're fat soluble, they get excreted, they don't really build up in any toxic levels. But okay, so let's say we do need 6.5 to 20 milligrams a day. How much do most people get? The average US adult probably gets only 1 to 2 milligrams of lutein a day in their diet, which is really shocking. And even there are some populations, some cultures who do eat more of the leafy greens or other types of foods that have lutein zeaxanthin in them. Even they probably are not getting the full 6.5 to 20 milligrams a day. Maybe some people in the Fiji actually has the highest levels of these certain, plant intake in their natural diet. So they have very, very high levels of these macular carotenoids, but most people don't get enough. And so I am actually therefore in the same boat in terms of the thought about supplementation, because our eyes are just exposed to so many potential insults during the course of the day. We obviously have all this light that's coming in constantly, not just sunlight, but artificial light from our screens, from our CFL lights, from our LED lights. And then also, there are so many toxins in the environment that could potentially cause damage to our eyes. We definitely know that cigarette smoke is, as a kind of a group of chemicals, cigarette smoke is very toxic, and it really increases one's risk of vision loss from macular degeneration. So we know all that. So again, it's my belief that, and this is what I practice as well, is yes, I try to get as much as I can from my diet, but I still do supplement. And I know that, many of my colleagues who I really I admire quite, I really work very well with with my colleagues, but they'll say, oh, don't take an eye supplement unless you fit into that category that the ARED said, you benefit if you only have intermediate macular degeneration, then you're at highest risk for developing advanced macular degeneration. So only if you're in that category should you be taking a supplement. But I'm in a very different, I have a very different perspective on things. And I really strongly believe that nutrition and lifestyle choices are the key to eye health. And so therefore, why not be proactive about it? Why wait until it happens down the road? Just go ahead and do it. That's my thinking. So I take an eye health supplement. My family does, my teenage daughter does, my parents do. I have everyone in my family take it, and I do recommend to most of my patients, whether or not they are at risk for macular degeneration, to take an eye health supplement with lutein and zeaxanthin in them. And now there are also supplements with actually I'm sorry. For some reason, you're there. Okay. For some reason, my screen cut out. That was very odd.
No. Well,
okay,
let me stop you though. Are you saying that your family, people without macular degeneration, are taking an AREDS 2 based supplement?
Not necessarily AREDS.
Okay.
No.
Got to clarify that, because that's a hot topic in the group.
It's a very hot topic, and it's very controversial. And I think most ophthalmologists would lean towards don't take it unless you meet that criteria from the AREDS study. But I'm not talking about the AREDS formulation. I'm talking about a multivitamin with lutein and zeaxanthin in it, and also now there are supplements that also have mesozeaxanthin as a separate ingredient. So the ideal ratio, people believe it's 10 milligrams of lutein, 2 milligrams of zeaxanthin, and maybe 1 to 2 milligrams of mesozeaxanthin. So that's kind of the ratio.
Yeah, Dr. Nolan's ratio from his study, and you might, I can send you some information. It's very compelling. I'll just say it that way. His ratio from his research is 10 milligrams of lutein, 10 milligrams of mesozeaxanthin, and 2 milligrams of zeaxanthin. But, my understanding also is, since it doesn't build up in your system, if it's more, that's not going to be toxic.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is, so the eye is not the only organ that uses these carotenoids. So they are also deposited in our skin. So it's not that it's only going to the eye, and any surplus
and your brain.
will get excreted by, and your brain. And so it's not that the surplus will get excreted by the body. It will be used by other organs within the body. So the 10 milligrams of mesozeaxanthin, that does seem a little bit high to me, but I'll definitely look at his research and see kind of how he came up on that number.
Well, let me back up and say, what would 6 milligrams of lutein in food look like?
So the richest source of lutein, if you were gonna put all your eggs in one basket, of course, eggs are actually a good source. But in terms of, since we're talking about leafy greens, the two, I would say that the highest bang for your buck would be spinach and kale. Kale is probably a little bit better than spinach in terms of its bioavailability. And so if you have a cup of cooked kale, that will provide you with, and I have to look at the exact numbers, I believe 12 milligrams of lutein. Which is
who could eat a cup of kale though?
Right. Yeah. So that's the other issue. I know that and for some people it's not the most palatable. They may have some trouble digesting it. So I usually talk to my patients about just trying to incorporate their leafy greens in other ways. And so one way, people always think, oh, I have to have a salad that's this huge salad and, or, sauteed or somehow in foods. But I am a big proponent of having a green smoothie every day, because when you do a green smoothie, that is automatically like you can just pack in 3 cups right there, and then you're done for the day. Then you don't have to worry about it. You've already gotten it in, and you can rotate through your leafy greens. So like, for example, dandelion greens. A lot of people really don't like the taste of dandelion greens. They're definitely bitter. They have a very unique taste. Some people find it very unpalatable, but if you put it into a smoothie, and it's actually the greens, the stem, you put the entire thing in there, 3 cups, And then you add maybe some bananas, maybe add
Berries.
Berries are great, just to give it a little bit of, cut the bitterness a little bit, and then add some omegas in there. Put in some flax seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds, put in some milk or your whatever milk of choice you have, whether it's animal milk or plant-based milk. You're getting a pretty nutritious smoothie right there, and then you're done for the day. And it's you don't have to chew it. So, I know some people have issues with, they may have dental issues where they're not able to chew, or, they have other types of digestive issues. So there's just so many options out there to incorporate these foods into your diet. So I always tell my patients, diet is the cornerstone. Do that first. And of course, if you do a supplement, that's your choice. You can add on to that, but get it in your diet first, because that's the way our bodies were meant to absorb it. We do know that in terms of supplementation, because these are lipid soluble, all of the macular carotenoids are lipid soluble, meaning they're fat soluble. They are better absorbed with other fats. And so, kind of think about what you're eating with these foods, but also with the supplements, just talking about the supplements, there are certain formulations of supplements. There's a particular one that's a liquid supplement that went head to head in a study with preservation AREDs, and it found that the absorption, the bioavailability of lutein, zeaxanthin, mesozeaxanthin from the liquid formulation was better than the AREDS 2 supplement. That's the top leading macular degeneration supplement market.
The carotenoid that I take and I had recommended to the group is for MacuHealth. Not the AREDS 2 based formulation they have, but they have the one with lutein, zeaxanthin, and mesozeaxanthin, and it is in a capsule with safflower oil to enhance absorption. I was just smiling when you're talking about dandelion leaves, because I grew up on them, picked from our yard. And you mentioned
most people don't realize you can actually eat those. You can eat the entire
and
plant. You can eat the flower, the stem, the leaves.
My mother and aunts and uncles must have been geniuses, because we made a wilted salad with, you take the bacon, the bacon, you just saute it in bacon grease and bacon, and that was a treat. So, who would have known?
I don't know about bacon, but definitely sauteing it in some kind of fat would be a good idea.
Well, that's one thing about, for myself, I'm exploring some other leafy greens, and one of my favorite is chard. And any of the greens, I found that, for instance, today I took beet greens and I sauteed some, used olive oil, I sauteed some fresh garlic, and then put the greens in. You put the stems in ahead of time. There's beautiful, like beet greens with that beautiful red stems. Saute them a little bit ahead of time because it cooks longer, and then you throw the greens in. So,
yeah, there's so many ways to do it. And, if you don't like a particular green, it's okay. Have a different one. And if you don't like greens, period, then you can get it a different way. As we were talking about before, egg yolk is a great source. That beautiful orange color of the egg yolk is actually because of lutein and zeaxanthin. A great way to eat not just protein from the egg, but also you're getting your macular carotenoids and many other nutrients as well. Also, like if we're talking about zeaxanthin, it is best found in foods that are orange and yellow. So I know this is a little bit off the topic of leafy greens, but so orange peppers, yellow peppers, corn, preferably non-GMO corn, if you can find it, which is not so easy in the US. But those are great sources of zeaxanthin as well. So again, if you're not a big fan of the leafy greens, try to get it in a different way.
What kinds of leafy greens are ones that we don't hear other than dandelion? I was shocked to find dandelion leaves in a grocery store.
Oh,
I
may be spoiled, I would say, because I live in New York City, and most grocery stores have a huge array of leafy greens, like a whole section of them. So most do
What are
carry.
what are some that we don't hear enough about?
Well, you mentioned Swiss chard. That's one of them. Let's see, watercress, arugula, romaine lettuce. If you're going to make a salad.
Oh, romaine lettuce. I didn't know that.
Lettuce over iceberg lettuce.
Ah.
That's an easy swap to make, and it's tasty as well. Bok choy.
Oh, I love bok choy.
Sauteing, if you're making a dish, then add some bok choy to it. And then also broccoli. So, a lot of people think of broccoli as the flower, the floret,
the head.
The head of it. But actually, you can eat the stem, you can eat the leaves. So even broccoli has a good amount of lutein and zeaxanthin in it. So it's a good option, and don't just throw the rest of it away. Keep the stem. It's not so tasty, but maybe you can find ways to.
Oh no, there are
more palatable. So
when I cook the broccoli, I cut up the stems, and you have to make sure it cooks evenly. You have to cut the stems up into pieces.
Small,
and then the leaves are small, but I think they're pretty good actually.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, you're right. It's not. It doesn't usually have that many leaves if you're purchasing it. Maybe from a farmer's market, maybe you'd probably get a couple more leaves in there.
Yeah.
So there's lots of options, I think, for people. If they don't like one particular type of veggie, then to switch it out for something else. Now, again, of course, the king is kale. Kale is king when it comes to these nutrients. And then, the other thing is, we didn't talk about this, but these leafy greens, of course, they provide the macular carotenoids, but they also provide other nutrients we need for our eyes. They're a great source of vitamin A. All right, and so we need vitamin A for our retinal metabolism to prevent night blindness and also to prevent dry eye. So that's another added plus. And many of the leafy greens also are a great source of vitamin C as an antioxidant. So again, people don't think about that because they think, oh, vitamin C, doesn't that come from citrus or berries or something like that? But actually, the leafy greens are a great source of vitamin C as well.
Wow. And I think one thing that even if a person is taking an AREDS2-based supplement, there are other nutrients that we need. And you're right. A lot of these foods do have more than just what we think about, the lutein and the others.
So if I could just expand upon that a little bit. Again, leafy greens are the first thing that most eye doctors will mention about macular degeneration. But really, I've done, in writing my book about macular degeneration, I did a lot of research into the nutrients, and you really do need to support energy metabolism by your mitochondria. That's really important. So you need the whole spectrum of B vitamins. You need minerals like magnesium, manganese, copper, zinc, which you always hear about, selenium. You need iron. You need all of this also to support your retinal health and to prevent damage that could down the line lead to macular degeneration. Also, as antioxidants, we always hear about the AREDS, the vitamin C, vitamin E, but there's so many other antioxidants. Like, for example, glutathione is produced by the body, and many people maybe have never even heard of it before, but it's the most important antioxidant produced by the body, and it fights against oxidative stress. It's not so easy to find from foods, but there's a good amount from avocados. So if you like avocados, definitely it'll benefit your eyes as well. And it's also a great source of vitamin E, avocado. And then, so we talked about mitochondrial health, oxidative stress, and also you want to have anti-inflammatory nutrients as well. So there's just so much to think about. Leafy greens it's really unfortunate that that's what it gets talked about, because it's really the tip of the iceberg when it comes to nutrition for eye health. And I'm not just talking about macular degeneration. I'm talking about your entire eye health here. I'm talking about the surface of your eye, preventing against cataract development, glaucoma. It's really the whole spectrum. And from my research, I identified 25 nutrients that we need, but unfortunately, only a handful ever get talked about. And those are the 6 AREDS nutrients, right? So vitamin C, vitamin E, lutein, zeaxanthin, copper, and zinc. Those are the 6 AREDS supplement within the AREDS2 formulation. But we need 25 different nutrients, and not necessarily in huge amounts, but enough to really, during the course of the week, making sure you're getting the whole spectrum to really protect yourself, protect your eyes.
So eating the rainbow is good advice.
Exactly. Yes, I talk about that a lot. Eat the rainbow. Don't just, yes, you should definitely make sure you get your leafy greens, but have the full diverse range of colors. So you want to have different shades of green. So not just the dark greens, you want to have some lighter greens as well. You want to have different shades of yellow and orange and red and purple and blue and even black in your diet, even white. There's some great plant-based foods that are white. So not all white foods are bad, but you know, we always talk about like staying away from white potatoes bread or white potato. I just had some white potatoes today. They're not, with some purple potatoes too, but they have great. That's, you know, they're rich in nutrients as well. So have the rainbow. It's really important.
What about, why don't we just open, let me allow everybody to unmute. Actually, you can turn on your video too. You have questions for Dr. Banik? They're going to be quiet today. You covered.
Maybe I answered everyone's questions as I went through.
Well, you covered so much. I mean, we went from the carotenoids through, I think, all the letters of the vitamins as well. How's your book coming? You have 2 books.
I have 2 books in the works. Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Actually, so my first book, which has taken me 3 years to write, is The Macular Degeneration Solution. And it's 7 strategies to prevent what I call leaky eye syndrome. And that's really an integrative term that I've coined. And it's basically preventing wet macular degeneration. So, so that book is very close to being done. And then my other book is Best Foods for Eye Health A to Z. So basically, you know, everyone again talks about carrots for eye health, but I really want to educate people that there are just so many other nutrients. And in that book, I go through what the 25 nutrients are and the whole range of different foods. Many of them are plant-based foods, but there are some select animal products as well. Like we talked about eggs and fish, certain types of fish or other marine animals that are good sources as well of nutrients for our eyes. So that one actually will probably be coming out first. Best Foods for Eye Health A to Z. And then the macular degeneration will come out afterwards.
I have some questions, and they're saying that the folks can't unmute themselves. Of course, I said it's okay, start video, unmute yourself. I'll go ahead and Sharon, you should be able to, you're not on mute. Would you like to ask a question? You want to come on video?
Yeah.
Oops. I can't see your little video camera here. I'm going to ask you to unmute. And I don't see anything that says start your camera. Well, go ahead. Can you ask it on?
I think we can maybe mechanically do it. Let me try to do it.
I was trying to do that too. If you can do it faster, go ahead.
No, it's actually not allowing.
Yeah, I don't understand because I don't have it checked as a, I'm allowing, oh, here. I got it. I found it, I think. I think I found it. Hello. All right, you should be able to try it again, everybody.
Okay.
Anybody?
No.
Yeah?
Can you hear me?
No.
I can hear you, Marilyn.
Good.
Okay.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
I have colitis. So with doing the leafy greens as a smoothie, is it easier to digest than eating them?
I do believe so, because it's already partially broken down for you. Now, of course, the good news is as a smoothie, when you blend it together, you're still getting the fiber, which is also really important for colitis. Now, I'm not a GI specialist, but just in general, for GI issues, having a good amount of fiber in your diet is best, as opposed to doing like a juice. Like I know a lot of people say, oh, I do like a green juice, which is like a cold pressed juice, but that juice will not necessarily have the fiber in it. You're getting the nutrients, but not necessarily the fiber. So I would prefer, for my patients who have GI issues, particularly like inflammatory GI gastrointestinal issues, that they do an actual smoothie.
Okay, and I also, I've got diverticulitis as well, so I can't have the berries or the seeds or anything in there. So what would you suggest to make it not so nasty tasting?
Well, you can add an apple or mango. Mango is actually a nice complement to some of the leafy greens.
Okay.
If it's available, papaya, that's also a great one in the summer months. Or let's see, what else could you add in there? Well, berries, if you can't have seeds, I mean, you can do blueberries.
I was
that should
thinking
be
blueberries.
safe.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can digest the skins, but it should be okay. Even
I can't have that
raspberries,
either.
they don't have
No skins.
Oh, you
No
can't have the
skins,
skins either.
Yeah, banana, that's another good option.
Mm.
Yeah.
Banana
Froze-
goes with everything.
Freeze the bananas. Take them out of the, what I do is I take them out of the skin, cut them up into small chunks, and I freeze them. And then you just take them out when you want them. Make
Okay.
a nice, add a little dark chocolate powder too.
No chocolate.
Oh my goodness, you poor dear.
I know, I got GERD too. I'm a mess.
Oh my. I don't even want to ask what you eat. I mean, what's left?
Bland
Well-
on bland.
Oh my. Well, okay, sorry. Okay, we had a question from Debbie Havens. She says she's dealing with myopic macular degeneration, not age related. Would change in diet help her?
To my knowledge, unfortunately, no, because it's a different pathophysiology. In myopic macular degeneration, what happens is that the retina is very thin, and then there are cracks that develop, and then it allows potentially new blood vessels to form. So the ultimate result may be the same, where you can get new blood vessels forming, bleeding underneath the retina, central vision loss, but the pathophysiology is different. So it's not like macular degeneration or age-related macular degeneration, in which there are drusen that form, and then the drusen progress to inflammation, then cause the new blood vessels. In myopic macular degeneration, it's actually a mechanical change that happens. And I've actually seen that happen even in younger individuals who are high myopes. So it's not just older individuals who can develop myopic macular degeneration. One of my patients, she was actually 25 when she developed bleeding under the retina from myopic macular degeneration. She has a central loss of vision. So on the flip side, I'll just add this in terms of a lifestyle choice. So there's a lot of research coming out of mainly Asia, looking at myopia progression, and it's shown that it's really interesting that children who spend at least 2 hours a day outdoors have a reduced risk of myopia progression. So I mean, it doesn't necessarily apply to adults whose eyes are probably already finished growing, and hopefully the myopia is no longer progressing. But just a thought, if you have other family members who also are myopes or high myopes, that it's really important to encourage them to spend some time, especially the younger generation, to spend some time outdoors.
Yeah, Debbie says she's 62, so.
Can I ask a quick question? This is
Sure.
Sherry. I can't get my audio to work, but
I hear you just
We
fine.
hear
my
you.
video, my video to work.
Oh, well, you're on.
See you.
We see you.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Go ahead.
You mentioned cataracts and glaucoma. There might be some recommendations for some foods or supplements that can help with those. Could you maybe just name a few for each, for cataracts and for glaucoma?
So for cataracts, it's the antioxidants, vitamins A, C, and E that have been studied. And then for glaucoma, I actually have done a post recently on social media about this, about foods for optic nerve health. So antioxidants, and particularly like glutathione and N-acetylcysteine and alpha lipoic acid. Those are the ones.
Thank you.
Sherry, I saw that post from Dr. Banik. I'll make sure you see it. I'll share it. Okay.
Okay,
Sharon, go ahead.
thank you.
It's your turn. No, you can't unmute. Sure you can.
Maybe you can put it into the chat so we
Okay.
can see it.
It
Here
won't work.
Oh, I
you
hear
hear
you.
me now?
There you are. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can hear you now.
That took a lot of effort. Thank you for your patience.
Go ahead.
There's always a lot of discussion about how to cook the greens so you get the most out of them. I also try to pay attention to the greens in regards to calcium. Okay, and there's a lot of discussion on whether you eat the greens raw, whether you steam them, cook them. What is your recommendation on how to get these particular nutrients absorbed in our body the best way?
Great question. So I think it's best to really have a combination of all of those different types of cooking methods, because eating certain things raw is beneficial because it preserves certain nutrients, but then cooking them can enhance other nutrients. But one thing I just want to say is that be careful not to overcook them. For example, if you're steaming, you should just do a very, very light steam, particularly, I'll just give an example, particularly with broccoli, let's say, for example. When it gets to be like a really bright green, beautiful color, just after just a few minutes of steaming, sometimes people will steam it for like 5-10 minutes. That's way too long because then that leaches some of the nutrients out of the food. So you want to just lightly steam. And then, as we were talking about before, sauteing is also a great way to add some fat into the food because our bodies absorb some of these macular carotenoids much better. And even the antioxidants that are fat soluble, we absorb them much better if they are combined with fat. So maybe extra virgin olive oil is a good choice. Grass-fed butter is a great choice. Ghee is a great choice as well. Coconut oil. It just depends on what your taste buds prefer.
How about with summertime coming up, how about just grilling, baking? The traditional.
Okay, so I know people love to grill. I am not a big fan of grilling food. And the reason is because when it gets to such high temperatures, it actually creates chemical changes in the food that can be pro-inflammatory. So, like for example, charbroiled something, when it gets that black, dark color, that's actually destroying some of the compounds in the food. And then you're ingesting that and then it theoretically promotes inflammation. So I'm not a big fan of grilling. If you're going to grill, do just a very light grill so it's not completely dark. And then what was you had one other?
A lot of people just put vegetables on a sheet and put it in your oven and bake it.
That's what I love. Yes. Roasting, baking, marinating, and then baking. That's a great way to. Yesterday, I just did a couple of trays of veggies, and so simple. You just cut everything up and you put it in, and then you're done in 45 minutes, and you can have it for a couple of days. So it's a great way to save time too, is doing multiple batches all together. And you can add some spices to it, which will be great too.
What about the kale chips? To me, I can't. I'm worried that when you bake them so much that they're so crispy that you've taken the nutrients out of them. What do you think?
I'm not sure. I'm sure that there must be a nutrition study that's looked at this, but I personally don't know if the value of the bioavailability of the nutrients in certain foods changes when you make it crisp like that. I mean, that's pretty, you've basically removed all the water from the food. Yeah. But I don't know if doing that also destroys any of the chemical compounds, if it breaks them down. I don't know. So sorry, I can't.
Well, that's okay.
I can't really answer that one.
You've done a great job of answering the other ones, so we'll give you a pass on that. As a matter of fact, that's a good research project for someone. I'll do it. I'll check. So what else do we have?
I have another question.
Yeah,
I have a broccoli question. I can't eat the broccoli like you said, Dr. Banik. I have to cook mine to death. Am I losing? Is it worth even eating if I have to cook it like that, or are there nutrients still in it, or?
So I'm going to give you all a secret.
Uh-oh.
So broccoli has a lot of nutrients in it. You know, we always talk about the carotenoids and vitamin A and vitamin C, but the real benefit of broccoli is actually a compound called glycosinolate. Now, who's heard of glycosinolate? Okay, Linda's heard of it. So I do talk about this also in my social media posts, but glycosinolates are very potent detoxifying compounds that the body uses. And so broccoli contains a lot of glycosinolate. And any kind of cruciferous vegetable, whether it's broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower. But if you really want to get, this is the secret now, if you really want to get the highest degree of glycosinolates, get broccoli sprouts. They are, I forget the exact amount, but I think 10, don't quote me on this, but I believe it's 10 times more bioavailability of glycosinolate than the actual broccoli head. So see if you can use the broccoli sprouts.
Yeah, Marilyn, don't say you can't eat sprouts. Can you eat sprouts, Marilyn?
Or
I
if you
think I can
can't
eat
do
sprouts.
that, there's tea. There's a wonderful tea called, well, there's a company called True Brock, and they make a tea made out of glycosinolate. So they take the broccoli sprouts, they extract the glycosinolate, they make a tea out of it. So there's lots of different creative ways you can get these nutrients, not just the typical, you know, through your mouth ingestion way, but there's other ways you can do it.
What about the green powders that, I mean, I walked down the aisle in Walmart the other day and they had an end piece that had nothing but green powders. What about green powders?
You can do that, you know, especially if you have trouble digesting, but I'm just a big fan of actually eating the food because you're getting the fiber and you need to get that fiber in there. And you're getting the water too. So, you know, foods are very hydrating, especially these types of veggies. And I just feel like you're taking out just a few of the benefits of it, but you're not getting the food the way nature intended it to be. So that's my take on it.
I have a quick one. Curious about your thoughts on frozen veggies versus fresh.
Good question.
Because I tend to make my smoothies with frozen spinach because it just, it's better. It works better.
Yeah. So in most cases, the way that the food is harvested and then frozen, it's actually good. That it preserves those nutrients. So like for frozen spinach, frozen peas, they're great, you know, alternatives to, you know, if you don't have it accessible, if you can't buy it fresh, or it's just not convenient for you, if things go bad, it's a better way to kind of save food so it doesn't go bad in your fridge like it happens to most of us.
Yes.
Yep, exactly. That's why I do it, really. Yeah.
And I worry about, because we buy fresh, well, we go to the store, we buy what is allegedly fresh vegetables. Who knows where they came from usually, how long they've been in transit. And I told my husband the other day, I think we need to supplement with more frozen vegetables. So.
And the same goes for berries. So a lot of people say, oh, you know, it's the winter months, I can't get fresh berries, but buy them frozen. That's
yeah. I do like a cup of spinach, a cup of frozen berries, and a cup of almond milk, and then maybe throw in some walnuts, or, you know, like you said, to get those nuts in there. Megas and
That's great. Sounds yummy.
Awesome.
Throw in freeze some bananas and throw them in there too.
Yeah, I do that as well. Yep.
Now get your potassium, I think, Dr. Banik, is that?
Potassium, magnesium, yep.
Anybody else?
This has been wonderful. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely wonderful. Your presentation was easy to follow, and I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm glad it was helpful.
I hope that, you know, don't be dismayed by the fact that we didn't have a large attendance today. I've come to the conclusion that there's no way I can pick a time or a day where we get a lot of people to come, but they watch the videos. They watch the recorded videos because it's convenient, you know?
Absolutely. I absolutely watch them when I can't attend. So I
Yeah.
agree. Thank you so much for doing this, both
You're
of you.
very
Sure,
welcome.
appreciate it.
Now, Linda, is it okay if I talk about my webinar that's coming up? Can I mention that?
I am not surprised you've asked, so go ahead. You were so gracious to ask. Go ahead.
Okay, so I do offer a free webinar called the Macular Degeneration Masterclass, and the next one is coming up next week.
Oh,
I
that's
believe
right.
Tuesday. And so
I'll share the link.
Yeah, I don't have the link. It's a different link. Let me, if we have just a second, I can see if I can pull it up and drop it into the chat box. One
Oh,
second.
that would be good. If you can't, I will certainly get that from you and post it. I've been to her webinar, and you can certainly learn a lot. As you can tell, she knows what she's talking about.
Okay, I'm going to just put it into the chat.
And
here.
we're anxiously waiting for your books. So I will pass that information.
As am I.
Okay. So it's in the chat box. I will take it then from,
Okay.
I don't see it. Is it there?
I don't see it. No,
I don't
Oh,
see
it didn't go through?
Everyone
That's
in
okay.
meeting. No, I don't see it.
That's
Oh,
okay.
there it is.
Yep.
I have it. You have to, in the chat box, you have to make sure that you have it set for that you're seeing everyone's.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it just took a second to load, but it's,
Yeah, I have it. So I will definitely post that. I'd forgotten.
thank
Thank you
you.
for reminding me.
I appreciate that.
Okay. And as I said, we'll share the information when your books are ready. So, and
Wonderful.
we'd like to invite you back if you'll consider it.
Sure. We can talk about lots of topics.
I know.
Oh, good.
All right. Well, I know you have something else to go to, so we very much appreciate you taking your time, and we'll see you
pleasure.
again.
It was nice to
See
meet
you
some of
again.
you for the first time. So thank you.
Nice meeting you. Thanks for doing that.
Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Anybody want to hang around and chat? I know
Sure.
Dr. Banik has to leave. Marilyn, you could put yourself on camera if you wanted.
Aren't I?
No, all I see is Marilyn Preacher. You want me to try?
There?
Oh, there you are.
I thought I was.
There you are.
Darn it.
No, you're there. There you are. Well, hello, everybody. It's been a while.